Welcome back to Storytime with Colin, and it's been about 2 months since I've last done one, and the last one was in Seattle, and now I'm here in sunny Southern California, and next to me is Sun, and we are here at his shop, ZEROAUTOFACTORY, and behind us is his race car. It's a race car. No matter how much he says it's a street car, it's a race car. But anyways, yeah, so after I had broken my axle, obviously I took my car here, and Sun had helped me replace it, and then we got to get the basic maintenance and stuff done. So Sun is probably one of the 3 people that I trust with my car here down in Southern California. So yeah, I mean, let's let's go back in time. So 2015, I think, was the first time that I had met Sun, and that was the first time I came to Southern California, and you were working at Evasive at the time.
Yeah.
And he had given me a tour of the shop, and so yeah, that was my first time being at Evasive Motor Sports, and how I met him in person. And so now this is like the second time that we've met up, and it's been 5 years since the last time we've seen each other. But we've always been online friends, and I mean, Instagram. Yeah. I guess that's how the world works now. You know, that's how you meet people. But you know, when did you start being a car guy? Like, when was that your thing?
Car guy was pretty late. Got my first car at 18. Not a special car. It was a 2001 Honda Civic, and it's the ugly one, the one nobody likes. So I got that car. It was stick shift. Learned how to drive stick on it, and sold it like, I think, 6 months after owning it and learning how to drive with it. It like didn't even have a radio, so I had like a PSP in the little empty hole I had in the dash, and that was my source of music.
That was a very long time ago.
Yeah.
PSP, bring it back. But how did you go from so you weren't necessarily doing anything car related to that car at the time, right?
No.
So then how did you go from that to this?
This is actually car number 11 that I've owned. And I've gotten other cars after this one too, but this is the one I've kept the longest.
And then how long have you had this one?
This is since 2013, 2012, 2013.
So about 7, 8 years now?
Yeah.
And were any of your other cars like S2000s as well, or was it?
So I had my first S2000 when I was 20. 20? Yeah, 20. When I turned 20, I had flown down to San Diego, but I didn't know anything about S2000s, so I just had enough money to buy one. All right, so you know, that was my first S2000, and I had that one for about a year, and I was working at AutoZone, so that's how I was keeping up with the maintenance and stuff. But after I had quit AutoZone, I was like, I might not have money to have an S2000. So I sold it and got a Miata. Worst decision of my life, because the Miata ended up being way worse to maintain than the S2000. Yeah. When anybody tells you Miatas is cheaper, it's a lie. You have to work on Miatas way more than S2000s. So then, what was the build up to getting into because obviously right now your niche is track focused, and obviously a lot of the cars that come here that you do alignments on, that you work on, are very borderline track cars and race cars. So how did you get to this point? What started all the tracking? I went to De Anza College, and they have an automotive program there, so that's where I learned how to fix cars. And they had autocrosses and other people that were into cars there, so I just naturally just followed them, and then did autocross, and after autocross I did track days. So that was probably my gateway into tracking. But it just escalated after a year or two after after I started the automotive program. So then I got hired at Evasive, and then I think after a year working there, I heavily started tracking the car. Like I used to go like twice a month. I think like a minimum of like 10 days a year. Yeah.
And then so was it this car that was the car being tracked from the very beginning?
Yeah.
So your whole track like career has been with this car?
Yeah.
Okay, so then like what, another question, what made you choose the S2000? Because that's a question that a lot of people ask me, and a lot of people, they're like, why do you stick with this car,
Why the S2000? It was a dream car because, obviously if you had a Civic, and your dream car probably would have been either S2000 or NSX, right? So obviously NSX is way out of my budget when I was 20. So my first S2000 I bought for, I think like 12,000, 13,000, something like that, around there. So AP1, it's the same color, same year. I've had 3. So this is my 3rd one. My 2nd one was just a shell, but it was the same color, same year. Yeah, but yeah, this is like the bottom of the barrel pricing. Like you can't be a chooser when you're a beggar.
Yeah, but then I mean, so it's gone from basically a stock S2000 in the lower end of the price range to being one of the, dare I say, faster cars on the track.
Oh, when I bought it, it wasn't completely stock, but it was like the front end from the fender's hood bumper was the CR's Apex Blue. So it had that, and then the Mugen top came with it. It had a pair of Brid Zeta 3s, red ones, and I think like KW V3s, and what else was there? Oh, wheels. It had a Volk RE30s. Like in not the like optimal size. It was like 8.5. I was like, oh, damn it.
So 8.5 is very, very narrow and sunk for it's worse than stock sizing almost.
Yeah. Because of the aftermarket wheel, it looks worse than stock sizing.
Yeah, because it's not even concave at all. It's like convex.
Yeah.
But then so you've had an S2000 for about 10 years now? Over 10 years? Or about 10 years?
Yeah, almost 10 years, I think.
Because you've had a couple before this one.
Yeah.
And this one's been about 7 years, right?
Yeah.
So why did you stick with the car?
Oh,
that's the question. Yeah,
okay.
Why did you stick with it?
It's just a simple car. A lot of the things you want to do to it, it's easy to do. And there's really no other car like it for what you're paying. For most S2000, you can get between, like, for a good running one, from like 10 to 18,000. It's a pretty broad range, but you can get like a different like models, like the AP1, AP2. You can have it with or without mods, hard top, soft top. But overall, like the cost of everything is pretty low for me, anyways, because I've done it myself. All the work on it, majority of the work on it actually. Like I don't paint, but yeah.
And then, since you're talking about you doing a majority of the work, is this a path that you had thought you would choose when you were younger, or had you never dreamed of it?
Like I'm pretty sure it's like always in everybody's like mind when they start working on a car and they feel like they're really good at it, that they one day want to open up a shop or something, but it's hard. Yeah.
And I know it's hard, but is it something that like, are you content with what you're doing now?
Yeah, content, but always
Obviously,
wanting more.
Yeah, we always want more. I mean, that's kind of in human nature, but so you guys, do you solely focus on S2000s?
No, I do a lot of work for Civics. I've done Lotus, Porsches, BMWs, some Ferrari. Not too much Lamborghini, but like an R8 is kind of close enough. I've done a lot of different cars, but S2000 is like my home.
Yeah, so it's very easy. Like you kind of know everything about it. I mean, since I've been here for about 3 weeks now in Southern California, and I've come here about 3 or 4 times, and I've seen a plethora of S2000s come in and out. So different variations, whether it's street car, track car, race car. So I don't know, why don't you want to tell me, like, because I don't really know too much about this car either. I mean, from what I can see, I mean, I can tell, but you want to talk about the aero, kind of, the engine setup, because obviously you went with a HKS supercharger, and you did it V-mount style, so.
Yeah, so let's start with the engine. The engine's the stock bottom end, 2.2, the F22, and the head has been rebuilt with SuperTech parts, so it can have a bit of extra rev range and have a bit of safety in case I miss shift. So it doesn't bend the valves. It can still, pull the valves back up in time before the pistons hit them. But it can rev probably up to 8,700, but I have it set down to 84 just for safety and because I'm overspinning the charger. And so that's pretty much it on the engine. There's nothing fancy, no like ports, no no coating or anything like that. It's just rebuilt head on a stock block. Makes about 400 horsepower, like 260 something torque.
That's why you went with the V-mount setup for the intercooler and radiator setup.
Yeah, so with the V-mount, the problem with the S2000 is because the opening is so small. When you put a intercooler in front of it, once the intercooler is cooled, the hot air has to go somewhere else, and hot air goes into your radiator instead, and then your radiator doesn't cool the engine. So to do the V-mount, I have a custom V-mount set up with a coil red that has that's a 240SX V8 swap V-mount, or sorry, radiator that I turned into a V-mount. Yeah, and then what it does is it just has fresh air going both towards the radiator and the intercooler to keep both of them, cooling at maximum. And right now, with the colder weather, it's at I think 186 degrees Fahrenheit at the max. And
at the max, like on the street or at the track?
At the track.
Wow.
Yeah. On the street, I'll probably be like 176 or something. So it get really cold. Yeah. And then it drops like 10 degrees when I'm going down the front straight and downshifting for the corner, and then it'll go back up slowly, but the max you'll see is like 186.
So then this V-mount decision, was it based on experience because you went with the traditional setup first, and then, or did you just go with it from the start?
Yeah, it's based off experience. Like this kit was actually off of Evasive's car, the blue one. So we did the V-mount on that car, and then that car ended up being parted out, and then rebuilt with a different setup. And then I bought the kit, and it's changed a bit since then. Yeah, because I changed the intake pipe and the radiator, because the radiator we had used originally was the stock coil radiator, and we just like tilted it back, but because of how the fins were designed on the stock one, it goes from left to right. So when you V-mount it, like it'll go from here to this angle, and as soon as the air or a little pebble or a bug hit it, it'll bend the fin up and block that cooling.
Okay.
Yeah. So with this one, the intakes are on the side, and then the fins are now like this. So no matter which way you're angling it, even the air won't bend it.
Okay. And then, so we're essentially done with the engine part, I guess.
Yeah.
Or what management system are you using for the ECU?
I'm using AM Infinity. Yeah.
So the AM Infinity, if I remember correctly, is the latest.
Yeah, it's the latest one they have for the S2000.
And then, so if you guys don't know, S2000s have like different years have different management systems or ECUs that you can use. So usually anything like AP1 to like 04 and 05 is usually best with AEM. And then what is it? There's Hondata for the later years, 06, 09. And then that's like, the Hondata is kind of like, it's like a piggyback, right? And it's
Oh no, it's a whole ECU.
It's a whole ECU?
Yeah, it's a whole ECU.
And then there's a couple other options, and obviously you can go into more expensive stuff like Motec, but it's hard to find a tuner to, what is it, Motec, Haltech, there's always other options, but usually most S2000 people who, go boosted or get a tune are AEM or Hondata, or what are the other options?
Like? You can go Hondata K-Pro conversion.
So the RSX one, yeah.
Yeah, so you can put the RSX ECU in there for K-Pro. You just gotta change a couple of sensors and cam, like position sensor wheels, and that's pretty much it. But the labor is kind of intensive.
Oh, yeah. So it doesn't end up being cheaper. It
doesn't. Yeah, you just have the convenience of having, OBD2, and you still have your codes.
And then, so what about the aero? I mean, your car obviously it has a Voltex race bumper.
Yeah.
But the rest of your aero it's a mix and match, and there's a lot of custom bits here and there.
Yeah. So Voltex race splitter with the canards. You really don't need the canards, but I just think it just completes the bumper and it completes the look.
Looks better?
Yeah, it looks way better. JDM headlights, not aero, but it looks cool. And then I have the Shine J's rep fenders. Because before I was using downforce fenders, but now I'm trying to increase the tire width. So I'm going to be running a 295 now. So that's front and rear 295s. This is a hood that I bought off some guy I found on Craigslist for like $100. It's a ASM copy, and then I have my hood, the louvers on the hood as well. I've had the same set on my downforce fenders, and then that set off a bit of a trend with everybody putting it on their fenders too.
Yeah, that's where obviously where I got mine from.
Yeah, so that like kicked off pretty popular. You'll see a couple cars having them. But now I've just cut a giant like rectangle hole in the front fenders too, for the venting there, because I'm just copying like the Dodge Viper. They usually have covers there for
but you can remove them.
With louvers, and they said like there's like a 10% increase if you just take off the louvers and have a big opening.
Because a lot of the LMP cars in the IMSA series that I was at, like they literally just had open holes as well.
Yeah.
And then
and then working our way towards the back, I have really small M racing mirrors to help reduce like a tiny bit of drag. And then I have the Mugen hardtop, and then going towards the back is the Voltex Type 7 swan neck wing. And then ASM rear over fenders and J's rear bumper.
And so there are a lot of custom bits that you had added on, like there's other like the Redox.
Yeah.
Supra, like I don't even know what you call them.
Yeah, it's just like a side vent or something.
Yeah,
a friend had them, and I bought them off, and I'm like, I'll give it a shot. And luckily I had the J's side skirts, so it has like a flat plane for me to bolt the bottom with the Redux piece too. So I just threw it on there, and then I just hope it looked good, and it looks good. Yeah.
And so there's a lot of bits on here. I see like the front spats, the rear spats, and then basically you're just very focused on aero, on it being fully functional.
Actually, the side stuff, the side vent is just that's purely for look.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just like the look, but the side spats do something. A lot of people ask me where I got it. That's actually the cutout from doing the louvers on the fenders.
Oh.
Yeah. So they were paint matched pretty well. So, and then there are other things you can use it for, but that's where I got mine. You can just get like some plastic. You can get bits of carbon if you're fancy, but it doesn't need to be fancy.
And then I see a NACA duct on your hood. Is that for the intake for the supercharger?
Yeah, so the intake for the supercharger is routed where the stock battery is. So the battery is underneath my dash now, because I have a really big filter. Because before, you would have a smaller battery and the intake would wrap around the header area and then come back towards the front where it would normally be for most intakes. So with the V-mount, I decided just to put it back there, have a different source of air for it.
And it's been working great for you.
Yeah, it's been working great. Yeah.
And then interior-wise, obviously I see the interior. I've looked at it before. It's completely gutted. No radio, no. I'm assuming you don't have AC either.
No AC. Yeah, no AC, no heater.
Nothing.
Yeah. The dash harness, like I cut all the unnecessary pigtails off. So hopefully save some weight. And then later on, when I actually want to redo all the harnesses, I'll unwrap it and take off the extra wires that I didn't, remove from cutting the pigtails.
And then so I see you have a Global Time Attack sticker on the side of the door, and I have watched on social media that you have participated. So was your experience like, competing actually, like, I would say competitively? And then I believe you've been in VTech Club as well, right?
Yeah.
So if you could kind of talk about those too, because, like me from Seattle, we don't have anything really along those lines.
Yeah. So I think I started competing in VTech Club while I was working at Evasive. And then after I left Evasive and started a new job in NorCal, then I started competing at Global, only at Buttonwillow, because my funds don't allow me to travel to all the other tracks that they compete at. But VTech Club is fun. Low cost. It's around SoCal, so they go Chuckwalla, Streets of Willow, Big Willow, Buttonwillow. What's the other one? They used to do, I think, Fontana. I think they might still do Fontana. But yeah, that's like the main tracks for SoCal people, anyways. But yeah, Global Time Attack is like upper end of Time Attack. So you'll get to see a lot of fast cars. And then competition is very, very high. It's crazy, actually. Like the amount of money people are putting into like their street class cars, enthusiasts even, it's a lot of money.
So you said that you had gone to the track, at least 10 times in the year minimum. And what is it now? Because I think last week when I came and talked to you, you said you were going to the Buttonwillow again. So how often do you go to the track now?
This year, or last year, I didn't go to too many. I've only did one Global Time Attack event, and then like one day, like a month or so before that, just for testing, because I had an engine failure on the last engine, and then I threw in the spare engine and got it retuned and just went out there for testing. And then Global was actually not on my list for last year, but I just like kind of scraped everything together just to go, and yeah, found out that my car is fast enough for podiums and stuff. I let my friend Graham Downey drive. He's a super fast driver. He's been racing since, I don't know, probably before I was born. Yeah, and then showed me that I was like 3 seconds slower than his pace, and like in his like first time ever in my car. So I got some work to do.
Because so you're in, like, in my eyes, you're considered fast. So then it's like, but then we still see the gap between I guess we can still amateur versus like a professional. It's always fun to see what someone else can do in your car. Okay, so obviously there's the banner on the windshield, Zero Auto Factory. So I've known that you've worked on cars, and I didn't really know that you had a shop until you told me. So what do you guys what do you focus on, and what is Zero Auto Factory?
So our main focus is to get cars ready to go out to the track. So you can come here to, inspect your car to get ready to go track, or even full on, like, we'll strip the whole car down. Like, we're doing one car back there right now that he was actually in an accident that kind of tweaked his frame, and we sell him a chassis, right? That's cheaper than him fixing the damage on his current car. And then, you know, we'll build it from the ground up, lighten up the chassis, get rid of the sound deadening, you know, weld extra reinforcements to, you know, weak points of the car, which is mainly the front upper A-arm mounts. So on AP1s, they're notorious for ripping out with like, when you're using like a high grip tire, like a slick or something. Yeah, so we'll do some welding. We'll make sure your harnesses and your seats are installed properly and then at the right height for you or the driver. And then, you know, we'll do suspension work. We'll set up your car, align it. We can do corner balancing. Yeah. And then, you know, advice on aero, you know, we can do that too. Yeah.
And so do you guys offer services like even to go out to the track with your customers to...
We don't offer that yet, but if you happen to be out there, I'm not opposed to helping you. Yeah. If I see you at the track and you know you want to get helped, or if you want like some coaching, then I can help, you know, build you up to a faster pace. If I feel like there's like a large, you know, gap between you and the car's pace, I can help, you know, get that closer. But if you want to get to, you know, the limit, you know, I might not be the guy to help you at the limit. Yeah, we also offer, you know, sales on parts. If you want to get like your JDM stuff from us, you want to get, you know, brakes, you want to get your aero, basically anything for an S2000 we can get, OEM parts as well. And
then you guys do have used parts. Seats. I mean, there's a plethora of things. So if you are following my blog, which there's a small blog post on Zero Auto Factory, so you guys can kind of see what's around and what's in the shop. But you know, if you guys are in Southern California, or if you guys are ever in Southern California and you have an S2000, this is the place that I suggest going to. Obviously, sometimes they may not have all the parts in stock. Well, in fact, that's let me redo that.
You know, parts are scarce.
Yeah,
so
parts are scarce.
Check with us.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if you guys are in Southern California, this is Zero Auto Factory, and this is Sun. So I would suggest that you guys take your S2000 here if you guys need work done. Obviously, if you need parts that, like he mentioned before, do check with them first. They're always the first place that I check with if they have a certain thing that I need. But if I don't, then I'll go to some of the other shops or other people, local people, and see if they have what I need. But I come here for my labor. So that says something. And right now, my car's next to the camera on that side, and then there's the yellow Jays Racing on the other side. So says something. Well, thank you, Sun, for being on Storytime. And this one it's going to be kind of interesting because we're kind of taking a lot of the people that, I feel like a lot of my viewers aren't really from Southern California, obviously. So we're kind of showing them what the automotive culture really is like and, you know, where it started, because everything started out here in Southern California, right?
Yeah.
And so obviously Sun is going to be on the more track side of things. And then even just in this plaza, there are many automotive businesses. So we'll get to those one by one. And obviously, if you guys like this video, then go ahead and subscribe. And then in the description, there will be Sun's personal Instagram and then his, or Zero Auto Factory's Instagram. And so if you guys ever need anything, you guys can just contact them through DM. And I guess we'll see you guys on the next Storytime.
See you at the track.